So now let me just start sharing my screen. Okay, I hope you can see the screen. Aisha Shada, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
So to begin with, what is a PhD? So a formal answer is given on this screen, but since you are all master students, you must have some preliminary knowledge that you have to write a research proposal, then you have to choose. So participants, kindly please mute yourself. Mugesh Pradhan, kindly mute yourself. Okay, so you have to first write a research proposal, then you have to enroll yourself for a PhD degree, then you have to do some literature review, then you have to make some methodology, and based on the methodology, you have to uh, study a particular problem in a focused and extensive way, and then you have to write a thesis, which will be finally evaluated by a, a member of examiners, a panel of examiners, which may include 2 or 3 or more, depending upon where you do the PhD. Now, my talk, as Aisha has already pointed out, it will be mainly about science stream, means PhD in science stream. So why you should do a PhD? This is the first question we should address, correct? Before going to PhD, you should have a goal. You should have a motivation for doing PhD. So usually the answer that we get from research scholars who are doing in science stream is that it satisfies their curiosity. Science often goes behind curiosity. Why is this like this? Why is that like that? Why, what, how? These questions are always generated from curiosity and also from interest. We need to know about the world in a better way. We need to know about our surrounding in a better way. We need to mobilize or take advantage of our surrounding in a better way. We do not want to cause harm for our environment. And because of all this, we have several interests to learn a thing. And if you learn that, you can find certain kind of happiness, or it satisfies your curiosity. So that is the first answer people will give you when you ask them why you are doing a PhD. Then second answer is that they want to push the boundaries of human collective knowledge by making original contribution. So one of the defining characteristics of a human being is that they can gain knowledge, they can always collaborate, and they can increase the knowledge in a collective manner, and it always advances. And there a PhD scholar can give his original contribution that was not existing before his study. That is what I mean by original contribution. And of course, everyone will say that they can develop their career, they can find a prospect job which suits their capabilities. These are all the reasons why people do PhD. And another answer is that there are a lot of problems that we are facing in our day-to-day life, in our daily life. In from a global scenario to our local scenario, we can find a number of problems. Actually, when we look at the life, we can see that the life of most of the human beings are going from one problem to the other problem, and we are learning how to sail through the problems. And research or PhD will help you to navigate through those problems by finding solutions to them. So if you need to know how to find solutions from a science-based methodology, you should do a PhD in science stream. And also, you know that when I received my doctorate degree, I got a lot of reception from my hometown, because there were not many PhD students or doctors from, means academic doctors in my village. So of course I got a lot of honors. So you can see that doctorate degree earns a respect in your society. And there are some other answers also you can find. And another answer is that all the comfort that we enjoy today, for example, the laptop in front of which I am giving a talk, you are all in a remote locations. I don't know whether some of you are sitting together, but most of you, we are not, we are separated by long distances, but still we are able to communicate with each other. And I am sitting under a fan. And these are all result of research done by earlier generation. So the research that we do today may contribute for the future generation in increasing their living standard. If you see the way people lived 100 years ago, 50 years ago, we can see that even kings couldn't dream about the kind of luxury that even common people are having today. So research has improved the living standard of common man, especially the lower class people. Everywhere it has advanced the living standard. So you can actually invest into the future by doing research today. And another thing is that when we learn about civilizations, we always learn about Indus Valley civilization. We learn about Mesopotamian civilization. These are the names of the rivers. Indus is the name of the river. Mesopotamia or was the fertile land near Tigris or Euphrates. So ancient men and women lived in fertile lands near rivers. Please excuse me for the spelling mistakes there. It is river, not rubber. And because of the influence of rivers, they became popular by the name of the river. And today, universities are, Mukesh Pradhan, again, your mic is unmuted. Please mute. And universities are the modern fertile lands. And in between, if you have any question, you can ask Mukesh. I hope accidentally you have switched on your mic. Okay. So universities are the modern fertile lands, and University of California and Stanford are near Silicon Valley, which made huge contribution towards what I can say, the mobile technology, the internet, laptops, all these things has directly or indirectly linked to Silicon Valley. And Silicon Valley is next to two great universities in United States. And we know that the graduates or students from Stanford and California, Berkeley directly go to Silicon Valley. They make new products, they make innovative products, and they sell it to the world. And they, in a way, help American economy to grow. And another thing is that this actually, usually when we do research in science, people have an attitude that science research is often superior to humanities subjects or social science subjects. It should not be. Actually, all the policy making about PhD or whether research or funding is actually coming from politics, and politics is directly linked to social science research or social science research. So in a way, uh, we can see that social science research, humanities research, and scientific research are interconnected with each other, and one contribute in the other field, and one each always have a kind of symbiotic relationships. One is not above other or inferior to the other. And actually, scientific research and results in many ways contribute in policy making. Recently, you might have seen that the Open AI chairman was called to American Senate or Congress to give an address there, and the senators asked him various questions. And simultaneously, Facebook CEO Zuckerberg was called. Whenever a new technology is in the market, the Congress or the Parliament or lawmakers of the world, they meet with those people and try to make policies based on that. So your PhD, you can do PhD to contribute in policy making also. So these are some general things that I said, but ultimately why you should do a PhD is your own personal choice. And maybe the reasons that I said you may not be valid in your case, but these are some of the general points why people generally do PhD. And what is the difference between a medical doctor or an engineer who study problems and a PhD scholar who study problems? A medical doctor or engineering, they study certain technologies, or they have certain skills which they perfect by through practice, and they will do same thing again and again and again. But there are no repetitions in scientific research. Everything is new. Once you solve a problem, maybe you will use the same methodology to address another problem, but the another problem is new, and there is no repetition or uh, there is no. Somebody named TH. TH, can you please mute? TH, I don't know who is TH.
It's muted. You can continue.
Asilka, can you unmute once? Asil.
Yeah. So, yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when I am presenting, I do not have access to the computer keys, so I will not be able to unmute myself. And I'm also, you are also able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now the second question, the first question that I tried to address was why we should do a PhD. Now the second question that I'm trying to address is where you should do a PhD. Usually there is a dichotomy whether you should do in India or whether you should do abroad. And we do PhDs usually in institutions like IITs, ISIS, or IISc inside India, or MIT. These are institutions, and there are world famous universities also, like JNU. It's a university, Hyderabad Central University, from where first year he's joining. And there are many universities, Pondicherry University, the Fraternity movement, which is currently organizing this program. Like that, if we want to do a PhD, we should be associated with an institution, either to an institution or to a university. Then we will have a faculty. So when we decide where to do the PhD, we should actually see the faculty. And ultimately, PhD is a symbiotic relationship between faculty and the research scholar. So when we need to choose an institution, we should actually see a faculty, whether he is capable, whether, and choosing a faculty, I think I have a slide later, so I will speak more there. Now, second thing, when we consider where to do a PhD, especially about scientific research, is availability of resources. So in India, when we are when a new student joins for PhD, getting fund for buying experimental, if you are doing experimental research, or if you are doing a computational research, getting access to resources is not easy, but it is much more smooth in Western land, in Europe, or in US, or in such countries. So people usually migrate from here to Europe or to US for doing PhD because of this availability, easily availability of resources. And as also they provide more funding than what we are getting in India. Then a second or third decisive factor when you choose where to do PhD is collaboration. So inside India, it is very sad to say that each faculty is living in his own bubble of ego, and he generally do not talk to other people. There are exceptions, but generally each lab is a hub of itself, and the students should only interact with people from that lab. They should not go and talk to the other lab. The faculty will not interact with other lab, and this kind of a setup is more and more visible. It is very sad in Indian universities and in IITs and things like that. But if you go abroad, you can see that all the faculties, they are collaborating with each other, interdepartmental collaboration, intercollegiate or inter-university collaboration, and they will collaborate with people outside their country also. It is very easy for them. But so when you decide where to do PhD, you should know how many collaborations they have, and within and outside the parent institution. Now, another thing, and these days this topic is often discussed, university and industry linkage. In India, most of the fund for PhD scholars are directly coming from the government, but that is not the case abroad. For example, my own brother-in-law, he's working in a university in London, and he is working in a project that is funded by Toshiba, but he is part of a university. He simultaneously has a affiliation in a university, but all his fund and his salary is coming from Toshiba company. So this kind of university industry linkage is happening in outside India. And so when you are taking up a problem, you will take up a problem that is relevant for today, but it is not uh, uh, like that in India. And so there is a wide gap between university and industry kind of linkage in India. Okay, now another thing that is decisive is how many years it will take to complete your PhD. In India, it generally takes more than 5 years to complete a PhD, whereas in abroad, especially in European countries, you will complete with it within 3 years. So this is also one of the reason when you one of the criteria that you should use to compare where you should do a PhD. But if you are doing a PhD abroad, it has its own merits and its own demerits. If you get a PhD abroad and if you want to settle in India, and if you come back and if you apply for a teaching post or assistant professor post in a college, they will usually ask you to produce a equivalency certificate. And it is said that even if you study in a world-class institute like Massachusetts Institute of Technology, if you come back with a PhD from there, and if you want to join a state-owned university or a college, they will ask you for an equivalency. So this kind of sad realities are there. But if you are going abroad, you should have a aim to get a job there, to get a living also there. And most of the people who go there for research or for job, they are, especially to Western countries, they say that they find a kind of social security which is absent in India, and they usually try to settle there. So it is not a difficult thing at all. Now, how to apply for a PhD? If you, I thought there will be some degree students, BSc students. So since they are not there, I will start from MSc. So for MSc, you should do a project. Whether your university provides you an opportunity or not, regardless of that, you should try to do a project during winter vacation or summer vacation. And when you are doing a project, you should try to publish a paper. Then prepare a CV, a good CV. And that you should prepare a rough CV, then you should always update it. You show it to other people and ask for opinion and try to make it better and better. And if you can get a professional help, seek the professional help and make your CV as competent as possible. Now, after that, you have to choose a topic or a faculty. And I will discuss that point more in a later slide. Then you will have to, if you are appearing abroad, you have to face an interview. If you are trying to get a PhD in India, you will have to write CSIR, NET or JRF, or you will have to write exams like JAM, or there are some exams like JEST, which will qualify you to get admission into certain institutions. And universities like Calicut University or Pondicherry University conduct their own tests to get admission for a PhD. So if you write the test, then some universities call for interview, some does not conduct interview, you will directly get enrollment into PhD. If you're trying to do a PhD abroad, then the procedure is different. You have to choose a faculty, you have to write to him, then you have to, that faculty will ask you for an interview. It will be online interview. You have to present yourself a small topic or something. Then they will ask you some question, why you would like to do PhD, why did you choose this institute, why this area, or what is your strong area. And these are some typical questions which you should have a ready-made answer before going for the interview. And if you're applying for a PhD in English speaking countries like UK or USA, they will ask you for an English proficiency test. And some countries even prefer ranking like GRE, especially American. If you want to do PhD in America, you need a GRE score. GRE is an exam conducted by a private player, but usually all the universities in United States, they look for the ranking in GRE exam. Based on that, you can apply to different universities, and different universities will have certain limits and cutoffs for this GRE. And GRE is a somewhat costly exam, but there are many countries which does not require you to pass GRE, and you can always choose those country. And even in these days, computational knowledge is also desirable. If you can learn Python or MATLAB or Mathematica or any application software like that, it is always desirable to get a good PhD. Now, how to choose a faculty or a topic? Now, there are faculties are in different ways. Some expect that the student should be independent. He should find his own problem. Some people will be motivating. He will help the student to find topic, or he will give a variety of topics from which the student can choose one topic. Or there are some faculties who are just spoon feeding. They will give you the problem. They will give you all the methodology. You have to just obey them like a slave obeys his master. So even these days, the way PhD. Hello. Labiba. Labiba. Are you trying to speak, or it was accidental? Okay, I think it was accidental. Okay, so when you choose a lab, you have to choose the lab where you have maximum facility, and you should try to speak to the students who have passed out from there or who are currently working there and ask whether the faculty is giving time for them. Now, when you choose a topic, you should choose a topic that is not only relevant for today, but you should be able to guess whether the topic will be relevant in the future also. Now, when you choose the lab, you should see their publication record. If they have a good publication record, it is more likely that you will also get a good publication. So publication is very important in PhD, and your thesis is mostly, so in some universities and some countries, publication is mandatory for submitting the thesis. In some countries, it is not mandatory, but still, if you have published a paper, the evaluation of thesis will be much more easy than evaluation when you do not have any publication. Now, you should ask what is the nature of the people in the lab. They will help you, or they are, especially in India, each person, as I said, is living in his own bubble of ego, and they will usually do not help you. PhD, from an outside point of view, it is very beautiful. It has a lot of excitement, but once you enter inside that, you will find that it is not that easy. It is challenging. It will have its own pressure, and a lot of persons are not able to cope up with the pressure the PhD guides or PhD work gives to them. So you should be always surrounded with people who are always trying to help you. Your mentor should be in a good communication with you. Otherwise, there will be always miscommunication. It will add pressure on you. Your peers or your fellow lab mates should be able to help you. And if they are not cooperating, then it will add pressure on you. And finally, PhD is, even though it is a thesis is written single-handedly, the work cannot be carried out single-handedly. It requires collaboration, and about that I will add some points later. So good communication with other students is important. And these days it is also important whether the output from the lab results in any innovative projects, whether the faculty has any collaboration with industry, whether he has any patents, or whether he has able to produce any products that can be sold in market, or whether he was able to be any innovation to his own area. All these things matter in these days, and these are also some of the points that we should be careful. Now, good supervisors are necessary for world-class research. If the supervisor is not good, they often compare it with a failed marriage. So there, you might have seen some jokes where uh, entering into PhD is often compared with entering into a marriage. If the partner is not as good as you, then it always results in a disastrous marriage. Like that, if the supervisor is not in good terms with you, your PhD is also likely to be in a disastrous relationship. Now, I will try to end my talk very quickly. So what to do in a PhD? Ask questions. So merit of a research scholar is not judged by the answers he give. Till PhD, your merit is judged based on the answers you know. Once you enter into PhD, into research, your merit is never judged by the answers. Your merit is judged by the questions you ask. So if your supervisor is a good researcher, he will judge you based on the quality of questions you ask. Now, second thing is be critical. Don't trust anyone. Do thorough literature review. Do not be lazy and be critical with yourself. If you make a mistake, admit it. Do not try to cover up your mistakes. Be critical with yourself also. And anyone can make mistakes. There is no big shots in science or in research. Even Einstein can make errors in certain point. This year, especially this year, Nobel Prize was awarded for proving, in a way, for proving that Einstein was wrong. If those people consider Einstein as god of science or something, they would not have done that. But it is not like that. Anyone can make mistakes. So we should be critical of anything and everything that we read and we hear, and we should try to critically analyze each and everything. That's the second quality we should have when we are doing research. Third one is cooperation. We should always look for international collaboration. Total team effect is always more than total individual effects. So we should, when you find a new problem, you should discuss it with other people who are like-minded. You should try to make a collaborative effort. Then you should try to address the problem from different sides. And once you get a good results, whoever has contributed in that, you should give due credit to them, and that always help. And these days international collaboration is flourishing in everywhere, and only people who have international collaboration are able to make good papers and good results. For example, I don't know how many of you know the LIGO paper that got Nobel Prize in 2017 had almost 200 authors in that paper. 200 authors in a single paper. So that is the amount of collaboration that is happening these days, and number of people is not a discredit these days. It actually shows the ability of your team, and always good researchers are trying to build their teams, and this is how research is done these days. And what is research? So with the knowledge that we have gained, or the things that I have presented so far, we are trying to understand a universe in a better way. Research is a training to ask relevant questions. Research is the happiness of discovering new results or advancing new frontiers of human knowledge. It is revising our own concept. And at the end, research or PhD makes you an independent researcher. So this slide I will just quick. You can get help from social media like ResearchGate. There is dedicated, ResearchGate is a dedicated website for research. Facebook, there are some pages and groups dedicated for research. In YouTube, there are some good channels. But when you use social media, it is often possible that your focus will be lost. So you have to be very much focused in your research. Otherwise, research will not go anywhere. Now, I would welcome to the people who have an interest to know the thrill of inquiry to do PhD. I would like to welcome to the people who have persisting questions to do PhD. If you have a desire to meet and talk to international scientists, yes, you should come to do PhD. If you like to do experiments, you should try to do PhD. If you like to experience the happiness of publishing paper in a world-class journal, you should do a PhD. If you want to experience the happiness of traveling around the world you should do a PhD. If you want to discuss the problems with like-minded people, you should do PhD. If you want to deliver talks in international conferences, you should do a PhD. So what is stopping you? And this slide also I will just skip, and with this I think I will stop for time being. And if you have any questions, you can ask.
Sir, excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes. Who is speaking?
My name is Sumaya and I am doing Masters in Arabic from
Okay.
Maulana Azad National Urdu University.
Okay, very good.
So I wanted to ask you about self-financing PhDs. What is the reality with that, and is it affordable? And what is it valuable? And yeah, about that.
So can you give me any place where you have seen self-financing PhD?
I've seen in the university which I am doing masters right now.
Okay.
Maulana Azad National Urdu University. So I've checked the PhD list and I've seen that Arabic they have an opportunity to do Arabic PhD and it's self-financing. So I wanted to know about that.
Okay, by self-financing, you mean that you have to pay some fees?
Yeah, I don't know what it is actually, so that I wanted to know.
So wherever you do PhD, you have to pay fees, but usually you will get funding for doing PhD, like JRF. So if you get some funding, you will be able to meet the expenses you have to pay in the university from that funding. And funding is always much more than the fees in regular universities. So you can enjoy a decent life also from that funding. So you should try to obtain a fund for doing PhD.
All right, okay. So what if I don't have any scholarships or funds? What is the reality of paying fees and doing the PhD? Is it going to be hard?
If it is a reputable university and if you are doing under a very good supervisor, there is no problem in that, and it is always very good. And Maulana Azad University, to my knowledge, is a very good university, and all the faculties there are very good faculties. So there is no doubt about that. It is a good opportunity.
All right, shukran, jazakallah.
Okay, thank you.
Still, can I just talk for a moment?
Yeah, who is asking?
Firstly.
You want to respond to that? Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think in Manu, self-financing, they mean that it's a part-time PhD. For the people, it's not a full-time PhD with fund. Which normally they have this non-net fellowship for every participant they give. Okay. But in self-financing PhD, it is actually, I think it's for part-time PhD. Those who are working outside as full-timers can join the PhD as part-time. And for that, they will not be receiving any sort of funds, neither JRF nor the non-net fellowship. That's
so Sumaya, kindly listen to Fasi's talk, since it is your topic is more related to science and humanity subject. He will be able to give you more details than me.
All right, I do have one more question. What is the reality with distance PhDs, like not regular? We are not going to the university.
Fasi, will you address these questions in your talk?
Yes. Actually, it is better that we move to next. We do it in the next session. Now, science people can actually.
Yeah, that would be better.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, social science discipline is coming. There is a session for that, so science people can ask any questions. If no one is there, then we can move to Fasika's session. Then after the completion of orientation program, question answer session would be open for everyone. So that would be fine because time is going.
So Aisha, there is one more thing.
Yeah.
I will break out this to a different room for social science. So the social science people can actually join in that room, and the science people will continue remaining in Asil's room. So you will get an option to join which room. First time I'm trying this, so I hope that is how it works. So accordingly, you can join there, and the science session can be continued here, and social science session can be moved on. Is that fine?
Okay. Yeah, then it would
Firstly,
be
I
fine.
think
But
there are not much
that's
people from science here, and you can start your talk instead of making
yeah,
confusion.
that is there. And for also question answer session, uh, both of you can answer. Okay,
Yeah,
you are present there.
yeah, I will be present. I will means quit for a moment, and after 5-10 minutes, I will join back again.
Okay, that would be fine. If
Is
anyone
that fine with the
from science
participant?
stream is
Okay, I think since there is no response, I think it is
Hello,
okay.
hello,
So
sir.
yeah,
yeah,
since there is no
Uh, uh,
selections, I think
yeah.
we
Somebody
can
is
move to
asking a question.
Fasika section.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you tell me your name and then?
I am Adnan from IGNTU, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University. I am MSc Zoology student, and
Okay, very good.
my question is how to find better guides and better institutions outside the India. There is any platform to find better institutes or something like that?
Okay, there you have to first find out a person who is doing. So your question is inside India or outside India?
Outside India, outside India.
Okay, there you should find out a person who is currently pursuing PhD in a area related to yours. So for that you can privately chat with me. Maybe I can leave my email ID in the chat window. You can write to me and I will try to find out somebody who is related to your field. You can talk to him and then you can get guidance from them.
Okay, thank you,
So,
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
okay. I will leave my email ID in the chat window.
Uh,
Yeah, you can see that. So with this, I think now we can hand over the session to Fasi, and if anybody has any other doubt, we can discuss after the after Fasi's session.
Okay. Okay.
hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, is it audible?
yeah, audible.
Uh,
Now you can. Now the floor
okay.
is yours.
Then yeah, then I think uh, Fasika session can be started, right? Fasika?
Yes, yes, yes. I'll start.
Yeah. So I would like to welcome Fasi Ahmed, okay, to deal with the session. Now the session is mainly concentrating on social science discipline. So platform is yours, Fasika.
So, is my screen visible now?
Yes, yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So actually, in the other session itself, you might have got a lot of things from Asim sir. Why should we do PhD and all? So I won't get much into the introductory part, but I will try to address some of the issues that we may face when we are entering into, especially into a PhD in social science, and how should we be choosing our universities and departments, especially in the Indian universities, right to address. And also, as the final session, we'll be also looking into how to prepare a proper proposal, research proposal for social science research in India. Like we joining this session.
Pasika, your audio is not clear.
Just a minute.
It's
Wait. How about now? Is it better?
yes, okay.
So, if you, why should we be doing a PhD? I'll just give an introduction. If we have a strong love and passion for research to find out new answers, especially in the everyday life which we are facing politically, socially, culturally, economically, if you have new interest in the new researches and new ways of finding answers to the questions surrounding you, then it's good that you do PhD. You can either do it for a knowledge production for yourself as well as for the community. And at the same time, we have seen Asil by saying a lot of things about entering into the field of PhD. But at the same time, I'll also remind you that we should seriously think about that should we really be doing a PhD, especially when you are into a social science field. Because first of all, we should be able to find the answer to that question. Is it time for us to do PhD, or should I be really doing PhD? And we should have a strong conviction in that. If it is, you can approach the PhD as a simple degree, or as also as a way to the knowledge production for yourself and community, which I have already reminded before. So even if it is however you are approaching this question, you should have a strong conviction in that. I would always advise that if you are in a very confused position, not to take a decision and suddenly enter into a PhD, because PhD is a very long process, very tiresome process, and we will be facing a lot of crisis in between. For example, if we are working in social science field and during the pandemic and all, just my own example, I would say that I was working on production ethnography of cinema, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and for 2 years there was not a single production happening. Then how should I be doing an ethnography of production? So such crisis in our field works, in our data collections, in our theoretical formations, then again a lot of financial situations, and all this should come up for us. Especially the people who are entering PhD will be the people in their after their 25 or 24, 26, and then by the end of the PhD you will be entering into your 30s. And being it a long process that you have to consistently do, then I would say that you should have a strong conviction that I am the one who has to do PhD first of all, and then you should have a strong hold in the area which you are going to do PhD. It should be really, you should have a good grasp in the theoretical framework, in the methodological approach by the first year itself. If you have to get that grasp in the first year or in the second year, you should really be well prepared to enter into the research field of PhD. So it is not something that you should take a decision like after 10th you suddenly enter into 11th, and then after 12th you enter into degree graduation. And this PhD, the entering into a PhD should not be that sort of a decision, because PhD is a long journey, and it's also something that you have to do yourself, especially in most of the social science departments in any university in India, any faculty. At least 90% of them will leave us alone, leave us very much alone, where there will be no proper support or guidance that we get from our guides, though they are meant to do that, but really we do not get it much of the times. So they will be even after fifth year or sixth year, our supervisors in many cases will be very much unclear about what their student is working on, their scholars are working on. So that is a sort of situation that is very much prominent in any social science departments across the country. So I would say that it's a run that you have to run alone and for a long time, amid a lot of crisis, particularly in this age. So we should be very much convinced, and we should already have a good grasp on the subject which we are working before we enter into PhD. So in the next session, next slide, I'll be talking about where do we do our PhDs, how should we choose the universities, how should we choose the departments, how should we choose the supervisors. See, basically, whatever things I'm telling now is to get a good PhD. Like if you just want to do PhD in some random subject at random places, then you can do anywhere at any time. But if you have to properly work on your thesis, properly come out with a very good outcome that satisfies you, that gives happiness you while you reading it, while you finish it, then that kind of a good PhD, to do that, we have to be careful in a lot of manners. So for example, where do we do, in which university we should be doing, in which departments we should be doing, under what supervisors we should be doing the PhD, all these things should be studied and planned. For example, every department in every universities will have a different sort of characters for that university, for that departments. For example, if you are looking at the communication department in University of Hyderabad, and you look at the film studies department in FLU, and what is the difference between these two departments looking at cinema as a subject? For example, for example, one of my friends who was trying to work on Muslim visuality in Malabar, he got selected in FLU, and then he is unable to convince any of the faculties this topic, because the IFLU's film studies department had a bit of literary textual approach in understanding films rather than in an anthropological perspective. But if you are coming to communication department in HCU, that subject should have been easy to be pursued, because communication department is more into a sort of anthropological approach, or a cultural approach towards the film they are receiving in HCU. So in this manner, you should be able to study about the nature of the departments and nature of the universities and the nature of the supervisors under whom you are working. So also it is fellowships. You should be considering your own financial background and financial backup that you will be having for next 6 or 7 years at least. So in that sense, it is very important to have a fellowship, to have a financial backup, because especially we are facing a strong recession. When I was entering PhD, I was very happy that I got JRF. And when I am into the 5th year of the PhD, I find myself difficult to balance my own personal, family, and academic affairs with the same sort of amount which you are getting, because the recession in these years have been so strong. So in the similar manner, you should be, I would say that fellowship is an important factor in entering into the PhD. Then, as I have said earlier, the entrance and interview. Entrance and interview also have very specific approach in every universities and every departments. For example, two entrance which I gave, one was in Jamia Millia Islamia for Mass Comm PhD, and the other was in University of Hyderabad Communication PhD. So So in mass comm department, I guess there were 100 questions and 100 minutes to answer those questions. And every question takes more than a minute to read. So almost all the questions were from research methodology, and they were all objective questions. And while we come to mass communication department in HCU, then the whole questions are actually from theoretical side with a similar focus on research methodology, but all the questions are descriptive. And while understanding this descriptive questions, we can easily see that all those questions that comes for in HCU entrance exams actually are used to be from the MA media theory syllabus, which they used to teach here. So even the questions were equally distributed among the faculties. For example, in my question paper which I attended, there used to be like 2 questions which Vinod Paurala taught me, 2 questions which Thirmal taught me, and 2 questions which Usha Raman taught me. So in this sort, HCU's whole communication department's whole question paper used to be set from the MA syllabus that actually which used to be there, which used to be here in the media theory department. In the similar manner, actually we can see every university question papers, every university entrance exams, and every university's interview patterns will have a pattern and have a nature of the questions, which actually derives from the nature of their own departments and university. So it is mandatory to have a resonance between your interest and the research topic which you are attending. And so in order to find that, we have very in order to have an understanding about the departments and the faculties and the question papers and all, it is really good to have a connection with some of the seniors who will be working in those universities. So in that manner, we should be able to look at the previous question papers entrance and then prepare for the entrance that suits your own interest of research. So the next slide, my colleague Shahal will be talking to you. That will be actually about about how to write a research proposal. He's also from communication department. He might be talking about a basic idea of writing a research proposal in a social science department. So whatever I have said, I come from a communication background in the University of Hyderabad University. So obviously it will have a strong bias towards my experiences and the university background which I am coming from. So it is really better to understand different character of the universities and their departments, and then the supervisors as well, to get your research or to pursue your research properly for the next 5 to 7 years. So I'll pass over the mic to Shah. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Shahal, you can.
Hello. Sir, you didn't address about distance PhD. You told that you will talk about that.
Can we do it after this? Like in the question answer session, in the discussion session, can we do it?
All right.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening. So I'll just, I believe I'm audible to you. I'll start off from where Fasi left off. Actually, I just want to add just one point. Fasi was talking about the importance of selecting universities and how to see that that to make sure that your particular research matches the kind of research direction and research interest a particular department has. So in European and American universities, it is very common for prospective PhD students to email and contact faculties before applying to particular places. Actually, you can do that in India as well these days. If you are thinking about applying to a university, but you're not really sure whether the faculties of that department or of that university is actually interested in that area, you can just email any of the faculties a very short email. This is your general interest area. If I get in, would you be able to supervise me? That sort of question. I think it is becoming more and more normal in India to do that. So about proposal, it actually depends and varies from university to university and department to department, the style of proposal and how important proposal is for your PhD admission process. For example, as Fasi was saying, in the communication department in University of Hyderabad, one question in the return entrance examination is about proposal. So in such a case, proposal is a very good opportunity for a student, because the main, a major mark in the entrance exam would be for proposal, and then you can actually write and practice one answer in that entrance question. But in some other departments, such a question will not be there. So you will actually be writing a proposal only for the interview process, and during interview process, the faculties may not be really reading the proposal in a very detailed manner. They may not give too much attention to whatever you've written. But I think it is still a good practice to go to an interview with a properly structured research proposal, because when you give the, let's say, a printed copy of the proposal to the faculties on the interview room, just seeing different sections and a very respectable number of references might help you in terms of giving a good impression, things like that. So I think again you should consider that this changes from department to department and from faculty to faculty. There's no one single structure that a proposal has to follow, but I think this 4 section is important in a proposal, and I'll just go through what each of this section should include, what I think they should include, and I'll explain them in terms of questions. If for my own, personally, I find it easier to write something when I put it as a question to myself. So that is the way I've done this. So I think there's 4 sections. You can have many more sections in a proposal, but these 4 sections should be there, I think. So the first section is introduction, where you basically introduce the topic. So what is the topic about? What is the topic is the first question that you should be writing about. Then what is the context of your research? So when you talk about context, even if a topic is very familiar to you, for example, if you're talking about, let's say, a state in India, if it is Kerala, it might be a very familiar place, Kerala. But for any other person, you should not assume that they will know about Kerala or they will have a basic idea about Kerala very well. So you should provide some amount of context for your research. Even if that might feel very repetitive for yourself, it might not be the case for another person who's reading it. And this is especially important when you're writing a proposal for foreign universities, or if you are writing it for an international audience. So you should take care that whatever topic that you are introducing, you should give ample amount of background or an ample amount of context of your research area, of your research site in the introduction itself. You can also contextualize your research in a political sense. You can say that this is the so-called political situation that is going on in a particular place, which is why I want to take up this topic. It is also a good practice, I think, to connect the topic to a larger area which is in one way about getting a sort of currency. For example, if you're research, if your interest is in a very niche topic, it might be, I think, difficult for you to find colleagues in that very specific, very concentrated area. So it is always better to connect it to a larger area of research. Even better would be connecting it to your the disciplinary background. How, if it is sociology, just one or two sentence you can say how it is. I think the question of why a topic is important, which is something that we may give importance when we write this topic. We'll try to say that this topic is very important, very significant, etc. I think this is optional. It doesn't necessarily need to be there. Of course, if you feel about it very strongly, about the significance of a particular topic, you can write that. The same is the case with impact as well. What kind of impact you are envisioning about this particular topic. The next section is background. Actually, this can be under two separate headings of literature review and theoretical framework. But basically, you are working with the background of your research, the academic background of your research. So the question that you have to be concerned with here is what existing research has already been done on this particular topic, or what research has been done around the topic that you're studying. Like, if your topic is at the center, if you cannot find many research that is extremely related to your subject, but there's surely research that is around it that complements your research topic. So you should find that, and you should be reading that, and then you should be able to present it in some narrative manner. You can go by a historical chronological way. You can say that first it was studied in this way, then it was studied in this way, then it was studied in this way. By the like based on time period, you can explain it, or you can explain it based on theme. You can say that this group of scholars have been studying it in this particular way, and then this type of scholars have been studying it in this particular way, which is actually the next question that I've written here. How were these previous research conducted? So not only the research summary, the research findings, but you should also take note of the methodology that others have used. And this will be helpful for you when you write your own methodology part as well. How the question of how is also related to the sort of geography that this previous research were concentrated in. For example, if you study some topics would only be the topics would only be very actively studied based on Europe or based on America. And then you can say that, okay, this is a very Euro-centered, the research have been Euro-centered so far, and I'm trying to sort of expand the cartography of that particular discipline. You can also say that this particular topic has been mainly studied under this discipline, but this disciplinary approach is inadequate, etc., etc. People always say that you should find the gap in literature, which I think is an impossible or a very difficult to do in social science or humanities research, because there's rarely a gap in the strict sense of the word. It is entirely possible that someone else has already studied, if not your exact topic, but something very close or very similar. And if you cannot find it, I would say that it is always better to avoid saying statements like nobody has studied this before, or I am the first person to be studying this. It is always better to avoid such totalizing sort of statements in a research proposal. So as I said in the beginning, this could be actually two sections, literature review and theoretical framework. But I think it is fine if you just write literature review or theoretical framework, and you can just club both of them into two. The difference between both would be, I think, literature review would be more research that is more immediately relevant to your research topic, whereas theoretical framework would be sort of a totalizing, like a, let's say how, so what has informed the literature with you, like what led to the research being conducted in this particular way. Basically philosophical questions would be what is I think what might come into theoretical framework. But the next section, which is the most important section, is research objective and research questions. You can split these two into two different headings. I don't think it matters very much how you write it, but research objective and research questions is the key part of your research proposal. Here you're actually asking you would be answering the question. Your research objective means what do you hope to find at the end of your research? If you can put it in a sentence, excellent. And then you can expand on that one sentence. And the next, how you develop research questions from that objective is that in order to reach that particular end, you have to answer, you have to go through a few steps. So you just basically convert that steps into questions, and then you would get your research questions. And then, of course, it is important that you should be able to say how answering these particular research questions will lead to will connect it to the objective, how these answers will reach an end. It is not necessary that the end is very set in stone. It can be a very open-ended sort of an end. And the next part is methodology. Here, first you have to ask yourself, what is your data? Data is a very old term, and it is not it may not be a right term when you are researching human subjects, when your research is qualitative, but you get the idea. You have to basically think what your data is. If you're taking a film and you're trying to analyze films, then your data is a film, or data is a few films. If you're going and interviewing a set of people, then your data is whatever that those people are saying and whatever you're observing. So in that way, if you're looking at old magazines or something, then that is your data. So the next question then obviously is, how would you get your data? So there are research methods and methodologies that is already there. You should be familiar. You should get yourself familiarized with the words, with sampling methods, etc. Whatever might be necessary for your particular research topic. And of course, the next question that you should try to answer it. This is an optional question, I would say. What are the implications of getting data in that specific way? So this question can be related to ethics. This question can be related to privacy, etc. Especially if your topic is related to digital lives of human beings. You won't need to provide very concrete answers to the last question, but I think it's still a useful direction of thought. That's basically it. You can also add a conclusion part, in which you would just repeat whatever you said in these 4 sections in a brief. So if introduction is about what you're going to say, then the conclusion is about what you have already said. So just to repeat, okay, so for this is what I've said I'll do, etc., etc. You can also include in methodology a sort of a timeline if you have one in mind. I don't think it is necessary again, but some people have, I've seen people do that, how you plan to do it. For some universities, it might be necessary. For some research project, it is extremely important actually, if you're applying for research projects and all, but for PhD in Indian universities, I don't think it is very important. Yeah, that's all I think what I want to say are the basic things. And of course, Fasi and I'll be answering if you have any questions.
Thank you, Shiva. So now we can start asking questions.
Ma'am, can you mute?
I can see a question in the chat from Mukesh Pradhan. Is it necessary to write both research question and objective, or only one is fine? You should have both. A research objective, let's see, how would I explain it? A research objective is a larger sort of question, and research question is the way that you approach that question. So, yeah, for example, let's say your topic is you want to study the working of a particular organization in a particular city, let's say a particular cultural organization in a particular city. So your research objective would be some sort of a larger question. So when I say larger question, it would be something like maybe you want to explore what is the public life in that city. So then you would write that as a research objective. Through this project, I am exploring how the city lives, or some sort of a very large, very general sort of a position. And then your research questions would be, okay, in order to find that out, I should be doing this and this and this, which is a general way of explaining the difference between two. Maybe Fasi can also explain the difference between objective and research questions.
Let me try to find it, to tell it through some examples. So, for example, let us see. Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. So let's imagine that your research objective is to contextualize the discourses of visuality and Islam in a Muslim society of a particular city. Okay. Then what would be the research questions? So, or how will you be able to come to that research objectives? That will be your research question. For example, you can say, what are the religious backgrounds of the people who are associated with it? What are the difference between the Sunni and Shia approach towards the visuality in that particular city context? What are the Muslim religious media forms in that city, and how do they view that popular media forms? What are the major contents of fatwa issued by the religious scholarship that look at? So all these questions, where they actually lead into, they all lead into the they all help you to find or to contextualize the relationship between visuality and Islam in a particular area where you are researching. So this is the difference between research objective and research question. So in the proposal, both of them are very important. Hope you got it now.
Okay, so anyone have any doubts, they can ask. Then this question and answer section is open for everyone. So use it properly.
So there was somebody asking about distance. Yes.
That was not clear.
So in the previous session, somebody was asking about distance PhD and all, right?
Yes, yes.
Is he still here?
Miss Sumaya.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your answer. Please go on.
So, what was your question exactly? Can you repeat it?
I wanted to know about two things. The first one is about self-financing PhDs, and the second one is about distance PhD. Because I'm a mom, and it's going to be hard for me to move on to another city for a long term. So, what is the scope of these two things? Yeah.
So you are particularly talking about Manu, I guess. I
Yeah, yeah,
haven't seen anywhere else something called the self-financing PhD. So it is actually part-time PhD. So for those who are working in some other areas. So yeah, it is something possible for you. You will have to meet the faculty once in a while, maybe once in a semester, and then you will have to give the reports. And of course, I can connect you with people who are doing PhD in Manu, so they'll clarify it to you. So you can have my number. I'll post it here.
Okay, thank you. One more question. I'm asking you about the distance PhDs that's hosted by IGNO. What about that, please?
But I really do not know much. Maybe I'll be able to study about it and then let you know as well. Yes.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Actually, my name is Mukesh Pradhan. I'm doing my final year master in mass communication from IPLU, Hyderabad. Actually, I want to do a research in the area of political communications. So, can anybody suggest a faculty member in Hyderabad University or Pondicherry University whom I can approach in the area of political communications?
Actually, the best way to do it is that you will get the details about all the faculties in the Department of Communication website of University of Hyderabad. And in the similar way, it will be available for you in Pondicherry University as well. But particularly, if you ask me now, what comes to my mind is Satya Prakash, under whom I am also working. He has previously done some work on Andhra elections and all. So election has been a topic of interest for him in his some words. So maybe you can approach him. But the best way to find it is that you will get the details of all the faculties on their websites. You can check their area of interest, the previous works they have done, and then it will be more comfortable for you to get in touch with them.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Actually, the problem is like, as you, they already mentioned some specific area of interest for PhD. Like they release 4 seats in communication department under 2 professors, like culture study or history of media or something like that. So that's the problem. Like, is it mandatory to go according to their own area of interest, or can we go with our, like, my area of interest, like political communication, election study, all these things? So for proposal.
Shall
Yeah, so this time I think in communication department, Professor Thirumal and Professor Vinod Pavarada are the two faculties who will be taking students. So that is a problem. I think they usually prefer someone who is interested in their research area, the area that they're already familiar with. But what you can do is for interview, it changes from department to department. In communication department in HCU, there's no There's no rule that you have to do PhD in the research proposal that you gave at the stage of interview. So it is possible to change and tweak your subject along the way. So if you try to make your proposal in some way connect your proposal, connect your research topic to the interest area of these two faculties, then you can you have a higher chance, I would say. So you can somehow connect it to their research area, their research interest, and then after, if and when you get in to the PhD, you can approach one of them and talk about finding a middle way or finding somewhere in between that both you and your supervisor is comfortable with. But ideally, if you're very set on doing research in political communication, it would be better if you find someone who is actually doing political communication research, because otherwise there's a chance that it can get complicated and maybe you will be forced to do research on a subject that you're not really interested in. So it can lead to sort of difficult situations. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So this is actually also the way to get into the departments. You have to you should have an idea about the faculties and connect your topic with the area of interest which those faculties are working, so that your topic will sound interesting for the faculties during the interviews. So that's how actually people, it's the way to tackle the interview. Otherwise, you will be saying some random topics, and there will be some 4 seats, and these 4 faculties might not be having an idea about that topic. Then they prefer someone else who has a common interest.
Yeah, so one way would be, you said you were interested in political communication. I just remembered that one of the PhD scholar, Shuhaib, who just submitted his PhD thesis. Aisha, you were saying something? Okay, anyway, his subject was about, he started his research about election, but his subject can also be called something related to digital humanities. So I think he was researching elections and campaigns, but in the digital realm. So it was about political communication. It was about digital anthropology, digital humanities. So these are some ways that you can sort of play around with your topic.
Okay, sir. Actually, I want to do a case study of this IPAC, like the Prasant Kishore, his political strategy firm, like the way they do political campaign for different political parties. For that, actually, I want to do.
Okay, yeah. In that case, if it is online campaigns that you're interested in, there are other faculties in the department who are interested in that area, but they're not taking students this year. Yeah, so it is still, I'm just saying as an example that this way you can bridge to research areas.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, can anyone give some brief highlight about Pondicherry University? How the department is like? Is there any we can find political communication professor? Yeah, definitely. I will go their official website and check. If anyone who is already doing PhDs there, then it will be easy.
Not familiar with any scholars there, but I think yeah, just to go to their website.
Yeah, if you for that you can contact in our group. We can give the specific contact to contact whoever whoever in that department. So it would be better. So if there is any other questions, we can wind up the session because it's already late. It was a wonderful session because the resource persons were so down to earth. Like they shared almost every information, like what is a PhD, what works, how and why we do PhD. So it was a nice session. It was
Aisha, actually there is one more question in the chat box. So
yeah, okay, then please answer.
Sahal, are you seeing that question?
Yeah. I'll just attempt it first. You can also reply. I don't think there's a right answer to that question because people work differently, and some people might get a, like a light bulb moment the 1 week before the entrance exam or 1 week before the interview, or some people might start building their thesis by the end of their master's course. But I think one I don't know, maybe if you find one of the, like you might have many papers in your master's course, if you're attracted to one of the course, one among the whatever number of courses that you have, if you're attracted to any one single one of them, then it might mean that that is your research area. For some reason, that research subject or that general area is more interesting to you. That could be one way to work out your research topic, or I don't think there's one answer to that. Building their thesis is that's building the proposal for PhD. Maybe you mean it that way. I think building the thesis starts only after PhD.
So it will be helpful for the aspirant.
I think there are no more questions.
Hello.
Yeah, I guess you can conclude now. There are more questions.
So there is. Hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. Hello, I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible. I think you were muted
Oh.
earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It's already late, and the resource person were very patiently here. Uh, First of all, thanks for that, your patience and your time for us. And it was a wonderful session. I think it was very informative. And I think participants, aspirants can show their feedback, give your feedback in the groups. Actually, we created a group for them. So I think we can. We don't have to stretch it further. We can wind it up. And I would like to thank the three of them who gave us who invested their time for us. Mr. Fasi Ahmed and Dr. Asil and Sahil, uh, on the behalf of Fraternity Movement, Pondicherry University. Thanks a lot. So
Okay, welcome,
the
welcome.
session.
And myself, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me, and it was a wonderful session. And
Yeah.
thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can you guys please leave your contact or any mail or contact number on the message box, because aspirants can further contact you if some questions
Yeah, I
are
have
there.
already shared. If you need it, I can type it again. I will give my
Okay.
email ID now. And
Okay.
if required, then later I will call them. When they're
Okay.
emailing me, they can leave their message also. And already you have my WhatsApp number.
Yes.
Fraternity have my WhatsApp number. You can contact me
Yes.
in my WhatsApp. And I will
Okay.
expect some feedbacks from the participants. And if they are there, you please forward to my WhatsApp.
Okay. Sure. Silka. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Everyone can leave now.